Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new edition of CLX Foundry Live, where we dive deep into a customer build and assemble it from the ground up. I'm your host, DJ Blue PDX. Joining me live from our studios in Wichita, Kansas, it's none other than our technical director. Good God, I've done this 1,000 times, and I just screwed up on your time. My technicals. Our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and our master builder, Zach Killingsworth. I'm also a joke, so there we go. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. We have a fun project for Michael in Texas, and this is actually cool because we rarely do these kind of builds on the show. So I'm sure that many of you remember when I've talked about, like, you can get any size computer you want. We've had some big ones, and now we're going to show you a small one. Now, this is considered, if I'm not mistaken, an ITX build.
That's correct, yeah.
So, Paul, what do we put in an ITX build?
So this is a custom configured Scarab off our website. So starting out with our processor, we've got the AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. To cool that, we've got our CLX Quench 360 AIO in black with the RGB cooler. For our motherboard, we've got an Asus B650M Plus. This is the tough gaming version, so it's got a good kind of like an orange and silver and black color scheme. I like this one. For our memory, we have 2 sticks of Patriot 16GB DDR5 4800 speed in black, so a total of 32 gigs of RAM in this system. For our storage drive, we have a 2TB Patriot P300 NVMe M.2 drive. And for our case fans, we've got 9 of our GameDS Aeolus M2s in black. We do offer these in white as well. And for our power supply, we've got the Leon Lee SP850A. This is definitely a first time on the show for this power supply. So this is an SFX power supply, so it's a lot smaller. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All of that going inside of this 011 Mini in black.
That is fantastic. It sounds like a joy. Don't forget, if you have questions about anything you're building or how you're building something, or if you've just got questions about your PC, please feel free to ask over here. I've got all 3 chats up, waiting and ready to go. Uh-oh. I can hear myself in the background. But first, I'm jazzed about the ITX. My very first gaming and streaming PC was an ITX build. It was in a thermal take case, and it was little bitty. But and then the one upstairs, is there a micro ITX, by the way?
There is, yep.
Okay, so the one that we have upstairs as the media center for the living room, which is no longer in use because it's like a 9 series on the graphics card. That's a micro ITX, which is wild how tiny they can get these. So what is the difference, Paul, between an ITX, an MATX, and ATX? Like, can you run us through all of the different levels of size that are considered when it comes to cases and motherboards?
Sure. So we'll start out with the biggest, which is going to be eATX, which is a extended ATX, is what the E stands for. So it's the same whole pattern as an ATX. It's just going to be wider. So typically you'll need a bigger case for that, but most ATX cases can fit an eATX motherboard. Then you've got ATX, which is your standard regular size. Then going smaller from that is MATX. So we've done a few of those, and then below that is ITX, which is the really, really small. Now this is a small chassis, but this is probably a large ITX chassis. They do make ITX ones that are a lot smaller than this, even though this is
what does that mean?
Case. ITX?
No. What does that mean? Like, there's different sizes you can put in a case.
Yeah, so cases come in different sizes. Even across like ITX, you can have one that would be even smaller than this with the same whole pattern for an ITX board.
There we go. Now, there's multiple different sizes that can go into there. Obviously, we just saw Zach putting in the standoffs. We'll talk about the standoffs in a second. But first up, we got to consider our motherboard, which is going into the standoffs. What in the name of God is that you just pulled out of your pocket, Zach?
My knife.
That knife is a murder weapon.
It cuts tape.
That's reasonably terrifying, sir.
It's a traditional Japanese
pity the fool
blade.
that tries to run a home invasion on you. There we go. What up, Legami? Tai R6 says, what's the word on 50 series versus the 9800 XT or whatever the new AMD is? Good question.
I have not got to test a 9800 XT yet, but I know the 9070s and the 9070 XTs are performing really well. The Radeon cards are looking pretty solid this go around. So I can't answer specifically for the 9800X3D, but or the 9800XT, but the 9070s and the 9070 XTs are looking real good.
Things that are also looking really good is that I was on my our arc trainer, which is like a super elliptical thing that we have in the house for working out. I looked like all the top was popping, like was coming unglued. I was like, how in the heck does this thing get ruined that fast? And then I realized Kevin never removed any of the plastic safety stuff.
Oh, come on, Kevin.
I was like, dude, get it together. Come on. Now, speaking of getting it together, I'll tell you what really helps getting it together is figuring out how you're going to get things together in your motherboard. And for that, we're going to take a look at our back panel or our I/O ports. All right, starting at the very top, you have got your display port and your HDMI right there. Now, as a total on this machine, there are 4 USB 2 ports. Let's show those real fast. Those are the ones in black. Then you have one USB 3.2 Gen 1 port. That is your dark blue. Yep. And then we've got 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports. Those are our aqua colors. I love how we're just having to get into all sorts of the aquas. And then we've got our USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 2 port right there. Plus, we've also got a 2.5 gig LAN port. We've got our Wi-Fi 6 antennas, and then all of our audio, plus our little reset button on the back side. I love it. There we go. Now, obviously, we've got to make this thing have a brain. This is basically just the body. The body doesn't move without a brain, so the brain that we're going to be putting in this is... I'm waiting for the show. There we go. It is none other than an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D. Now, these are pretty incredible, and years ago, Paul and I actually went into did really in-depth study of the new X3Ds or the 3D processors. So, Paul, can you simplify that and tell us what's amazing about this processor and why it's different from other processors in the industry?
Sure. So starting out, it's an 8-core, 16-thread processor. It's got a base speed of 4.2, and it will boost all the way up to 5.0. Now, it does have 3D on the end of the model number there. So what that means is the cache, which is the small amount of memory that's stored on the CPU, is vertically stacked on top of the CPU die, and that is for... so it gives you a larger surface area so that you can fit more memory on there, which is always good.
Pox6, hello, welcome in. Tyre6 says, then I guess next will be an AMD build. There we go. So I personally, I'm a dual PC streamer. I'm a content creator, so I've got my gaming PC here. I've got my streaming PC down below this glass panel on my desk, and I stream with AMD products. I've found they work really, really well for me. And that's a personal call. And anybody who wants to be like, hey, what's better? There's not a choice on that. It's pretty much personal call. Paul?
I pretty much agree. I game on Intel, but the new Ryzen CPUs, when I come to upgrade, I'll probably switch over to Ryzen.
And the Flex, like the X3Ds are wild. They're wild. Wearing myself some AMD colors today, black and red. Let's go. What up, Flamin' Yacht? Oh my God, that's hilarious. Flamin' Yawn on kick. Hello.
I wonder if they
so
go with any of that Arby Dairy cheese.
Oh my God. Flamin' Yawn. That is gonna go. I swear to God, that is gonna go down in my top 10. Top 10 favorite random things. Now, speaking of random things, we're going to throw something random down on our processor. Now, once it's locked into the motherboard, as we just watched them do, you're going to put a little bit of the goop. So, by goop, what am I talking about?
That is our thermal paste. Sorry, Zach.
You're good.
We could have said it in unison.
Thermal paste!
Thermal paste! Yeah. So what thermal paste does is provide a good way to transfer heat between the top of that processor to our AIO that's cooling it. If you don't have thermal paste on there, you can get your system to boot up and in a game, but it's going to run extremely hot and start throttling itself down. So you definitely need to have thermal paste. There's a whole bunch of different options out there. The higher end thermal paste you go, the better, the more cool your processor is going to be.
Now, as you may have noticed, that Zach is just going in a circle when it comes to mounting this. So if you're going to be attaching your AIO, which we'll talk about in just a second, Zach, what's the preferred method for attaching that and mounting it?
Yes, just like fixing that spare tire, we want to bounce around from corner to corner. We don't want to go in a complete circle around. That would apply uneven pressure and cause some damage to either A, our motherboard, or 2, our processor. And we don't want either of those to be damaged. We want to play video games on those.
And for those wondering, yes, that is the change a tire concept. And if you're not aware of that when you're changing your tire, please do it in a star pattern. Do not do it one after the other because it's not going to work well for you. Now, I mentioned something earlier called an AIO. That stands for all-in-one, and we're going to be cooling this CPU with a CLX Quench 360 AIO in black with an RGB cap. Paul, what does that mean, and how is this different from, say, other methods of cooling a CPU?
So this all-in-one cooler that we have right here that we always refer to as an AIO, this is a liquid cooler. So what Zach's got his hands on right now is the pump and the pump wires. So there's a pump with a cold plate that sits on top of the CPU. That's what Zach mounted. That pump is going to move fluid up one tube. That fluid's going to go all through the radiator. We're going to have fans on here that blow air across the fins to cool that fluid, and then it's going to come back in through the other tube and go right back in on top of our processor to keep it cool. So these, your AIOs typically are going to have a couple wires. They're always going to have at least one to plug in for the pump power, and then if it has any RGB lighting or anything like that, there'll be a secondary cable.
Nice. Nice. Now, in order to get the cooling effect off of the radiator, as you can see, we're just sitting right in front of the motherboard as Zach is putting that together. We're going to have to use things called fans. Now, we have 9 different GameDS Aeolus M2 fans going into this build, which, I'm going to be very honest, that's a lot for an ITX build. That is going to be a really great throughput on that. But we're going to first have to get them attached to the radiator. So how does that work, Paul? And which side do you put it on? Which way do you address the fans? Walk us through this process.
Sure. So when you're deciding where you're going to put your fans on the radiator, the first thing you want to look at is your case and where that radiator is going to mount inside the case. Now, I believe we're going to be putting this radiator in the top, right, Zach?
Correct.
So in this case, with the radiator being in the top, it's going to be up just like how Zach's got it oriented right there, and we're going to want to be pushing air through it. So that's why we have the fans being put on this way. If you're not sure which way the air is coming out of your fan, you can see I got this fan grill right here. This is going to be the exhaust side. So fan's going to come in here and exhaust out this. So we're going to have the air coming in this side, pushing air through the radiator and leaving out the top of the case. When you have them set up in the push method, it does cool better than having them in the reverse pull method.
And I owe Zach a significant apology because I completely forgot we hadn't done the M.2 yet. We're getting there. We'll get this together. Now, there is such a thing as a push-pull, which is rarer, and it requires much more space in the case. I can't imagine that you could get a push-pull in an ITX.
Yeah, I don't think we could fit it in this one. I'm sure there's some cases out there that you can, but just the fact that we're getting a 360, this size of radiator in an ITX build is pretty impressive in and of itself.
Yeah, Lagami says, I ordered a new PC where I want to replace the M.2 SSD with a 1 terabyte M.2 SSD. What is the best way to approach this since it will probably be occupied by other stuff in front of the main board? Well, I'll tell you what. As we install our M.2 here in just a few, we'll show you how.
Yeah, so if you're wanting to just add a secondary one, you should have, extra slot on your motherboard. This is an ITX motherboard, and there's still a couple of M.2s, as we'll show you in just a minute when we get to it. You might have to take out your video card to access the other M.2 slot. Just depends on your motherboard.
There we go. Now, as I mentioned, we've got to have, from the brains, we've got to have a memory or a thing that actually makes it think. As you can see that on the left-hand side, while he is getting all of those ties together, which is very, very important that you manage that because you don't want those cables getting to a point where they can touch one of your fan blades because the sound is horrifying. It's not necessarily destructive,
of my spokes.
but it's horrifying. Oh my goodness. It's interesting. All right, so now we've got that down and we can get back to our normal schedule, which is putting in the RAM. All right, now, in order for you to be able to do things with your brain, you've got to be able to have enough room for you to be able to do it. That is going to be our two 16 gig sticks of Patriot DDR5 4800 in black. And these are basics. They're great. They're not going to have to... right, I would love the black siding, that just solid blank.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of cool. Now, there's 4 different slots on this board. Why is that? And what can be done going forward with that?
So we've got 2 slots open after we've installed our RAM in the 2 and 4 slot. So we can always upgrade this in the future. If you do upgrade your memory, you do want to stick with the same model and same speed of memory. Sometimes it can work if you've got different models and different speeds together, but it's definitely not recommended.
There we go. And the other thing that we're probably going to be looking at here for her, we are doing it now, right?
Our M.2, yes.
Yes, our M.2s. Now, there are multiple different types of these, but when you're trying to install one on a motherboard, I want you to take a look. Zach, walk us through the process.
So just like our processor and our memory modulars, our NVMEs are keyed. Our NVMEs are keyed. They can only be installed one way. So if our motherboard has a heat sink on top of it, we want to remove said heat sink and then peel off of our thermal pad. And then we just
don't remove the whole heat sink. Just take off the label.
Yeah. And then we just want to line our cut up with our port. And at a low angle, just softly shove it in there.
Yeah, M.2s go in really easily. If you never installed one, it's
and we can have another one right there.
Yep. And
so
some ITX boards even have an M.2 slot on the back, which is kind of cool.
What?
They're so small. Yeah. So if you
That's cool.
If you've got an ITX board at home and you only have one slot, you might have an extra one on the back of your motherboard.
Okay, we've got to do one of those on the show one of these days. That would be fantastic. All right, so now real quick so we can get this all explained. We've talked about M.2s and SSDs, but there's also HDDs and just SSDs. So what is the difference between all the different classes of hard drives, Paul?
So the big difference is you've got 2 groups of drives. You've got solid state drives, SSDs, and hard disk drives, HDDs. Now the M.2 falls into the SSD category, and any of the SSDs are way faster than the hard disk drives. There's no moving parts in them. That's why they're called solid state. The hard disk drives are great for secondary storage because they're relatively cheap. You can get a 8 terabyte hard disk drive for a lot cheaper than you can get an 8 terabyte M.2, but it's always recommended to at least have your operating system on an SSD, whether that be a 2.5 inch or an M.2 drive. Just going to make your system boot up a lot faster, and then if you got any games on those solid state drives, they're going to play a lot better. Reduce load screens. I know when I loaded up Monster Hunter this time, I put it on my secondary HDD drive, and it actually recommended me in the game that I install it on an SSD.
Oh my gosh, King Metro over here on the purple side says, I ordered my PC from CLX and can't wait to get it. Seems like the build test quality takes so long. It's almost 10 days, but it says it ships tomorrow and I can't hope the delivery doesn't take too long. Your delivery will not take too long, and oftentimes, well, Paul, why sometimes does it take a little bit longer to do that burn-in?
It all just depends. First off, on parts availability. Now, the estimated time is in business days, so just keep that in mind when you've ordered the system. But after your system is built and it goes into testing, we do have a pretty extensive testing process. So there's a lot of things we do in there, but the long part of that is the 12-hour burn-in or stress test, where we put the system through all its paces. We've got a few different benchmarking softwares that we use. The main one is 3D Mark, and we run that and make sure everything's stable. That way, when you get it, there's no issues.
And I'm going to be very honest, like mine, I think was in testing for, it was intended to be 12 hours and then it ended up being like, I don't know, 6 or 7 days. And that's not because of any fault. It's just, they're very specific at CLX about ensuring performance. And ensuring that performance is a wonderful element and caveat to being able to have a functional machine that's going to perform beyond your expectations. That performs way beyond my expectations. It's awesome. So, yes, definitely. I'm excited, King Metro. Don't forget, when you get your PC, which will be soon, when you get your PC, there is a section in our Discord. By the way, if you're not already in there, it's discord.gg/CLX Gaming. And all you've got to do is go down to where it says, let's see, your CLX setup. And we would love to see pictures of it once it's all up and running. And of course, you have lifetime technical support and customer service always. So definitely, hit us up if there's an issue, but also enjoy and play hard. King Metro said he thought it was at first was taking long because he ordered a 50 series card. I have zero information on that.
Yeah, it could be the 50 series availability has been crazy, but I'm not sure if that was an issue with yours or not.
Let's see here. Tyree says, what line of work are you guys in? Is it a decent career? There's companies near me that are hiring, but I'm speculative about it all. I'll go first. So I'm a professional content creator, professional gamer. I am a voice actor, voiceover artist, and an esports shoutcaster, as well as a DJ. So that's what I do. And I love my career because I'm happy doing it. Very happy doing it. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm making banger bucks, but at least I'm happy with what I'm doing. And being happy with what I'm doing is so much more important than making them big checks, getting that big paper. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. I've been, I guess, in the industry for a while now. I've been here for 10 years. It's been a long time, but it's gone by really fast. I like the career field. I like gaming. I've always been a gamer since I was a kid with the original Game Boy. So I enjoy it. PC building is also really fun, and it's really, I think the coolest part about working in the industry is getting to see all the new stuff right when it comes out, because that's something that my buddies who aren't in the industry and are into gaming don't really get to see, and I always think that's really cool.
Real quick, Michael over on the red side says, love the process, waited 1 week, but I haven't had a problem. Had my previous machine before I upgraded in 2019. So just on a completely strange question, where does the competitive marketability stand when it comes to your PC builds? Like, how often should you expect it to last depending on how much you invested in it to begin with?
Yeah, so if you were to build one top of the line right now, highest end processor, highest end video card, 32 gigs at least of memory, enough storage to last you for whatever you needed it, you're probably looking at like at least 6 to 7 years before you got to do anything to it. Now, I can't predict the future, so some stuff could happen that could change that, but that's typically how often I upgrade mine. It does not happen very often. And then when you do upgrade, typically your processor is going to last longer as far as the power and the requirements that gaming needs in the future. So typically you just need to upgrade your video card after a long time, and then maybe a few years after that you're looking at upgrading everything. But yeah, if you go with high end, it's going to last you for quite a long time.
And then Flame, oh my gosh, Flame lives in Salem. So Salem is, which is a couple hours. Well, no, it's like an hour south of me. Fantastic kick for. Welcome to. Give me friend. That's fantastic.
Ain't no witches up there.
Okay, now we're getting this all locked in. Now, as we noticed in the beginning, we saw Zach screwing some things into the base of the case, which now the motherboard is mounted on. Those are called standoffs. What do standoffs do, and why is it important that you get all of them in the right place and connected in the right way?
So standoffs separate the motherboard from the frame of the chassis. We wouldn't want our motherboard screwed directly to the frame of the chassis because it is metal, and that metal can short out our motherboard. So we have to put these standoffs in. Most cases come with them pre-installed. Sometimes you'll have to add in one or two like we had to do on this build. But that's what they're there for, and that's where your mounting screws go that Zach's installing right now.
Perfect. Nice. All right. Now, once we get it in here, we've just got a matter of mounting it and then setting it stable. Now, what Zach is doing right now is working with the case cables and getting the radiator ready to install to the top. So when it comes to this, there's sometimes... What are some considerations to take into account when you are mounting these, especially in such a case that has limited space?
I'd say the first thing that I look for right now is just being able to install our CPU power in the top left of the motherboard. That can get pretty questionable in these small builds. Even in a big build, it can still be kind of hard to do. Now you can see Zach's already thought about that. He's already got a little gap right there where he can get that in. But that's usually the first thing I look at. After that, we're going to see if these fans bump into any of those heat shields or our memory sticks. You can see it is pretty close here, and that's another thing that you've got to keep in mind on these small cases. Like if you want to do a push-pull on this, we wouldn't be able to because that would extend this radiator out and we'd be touching that. This is actually an MATX board. I think I said it was an ITX at the beginning of the build, but this is an MATX.
Oh, is it an MATX? Oh, yeah. Gotcha. So there is a difference. Okay.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, MATX board and a tiny chassis, which is good. The bigger the board, the more options it can have. So that's always nice. Extra slots, extra headers, all that good stuff.
King Metro asks over on the purple side, also, how hard is it to change an AIO? My CLX PC forced me to get an AIO for the CPU I picked up, and they didn't have the one I want, so I want to order a different AIO and put it on. Also, do I need to wait for warranty before doing so?
It shouldn't break your warranty if you're installing your AIO. Now, if you're unsure of doing it and haven't done it, I would definitely contact our support. They'll be happy to walk you through the process of the specific one that you get. But it is relatively easy. Depending on if you have an AMD or Intel build, you might have a backplate on the back side of the motherboard. So that is something, that's going to be the part that you want to like keep an eye on the most, because these screws right here, if we had a backplate on this, if this was an Intel build, we unscrewed these, our backplate would fall out the back, which is okay. I mean, it's unhooked. It's just you don't want to lose that. And when you're installing the new AIO, it's probably going to, if the original one had a backplate, your new AIO is most likely going to use one as well. But other than that, it's really easy. The thermal paste can be kind of messy when you pull this off. You can use just a paper towel or a napkin or something like that. Just rub on it. It might not come off on the first couple scrubs, but it starts to come off pretty easily once you get scrubbing.
Golden EOA1 says, do you think Microsoft will do an XP if users refuse to move on to Windows 11? So I'm going to say this as somebody who's worked for Microsoft and on Windows. And yes, I have. No.
What does doing an XP mean? What did they do with Windows XP?
Like migrating down. Migrating down or adding multiple service packs as opposed to doing Windows 11. The difference between XP and Windows 10/11, Windows 10 and 11 were designed around Microsoft Windows Defender. The biggest problem that you have when it comes to security protocols, like such as things like McAfee or Norton, etc., the issue you have is the fact that they can't see what's happening in the kernel or in the actual core files because they don't have the authorization, they don't have the permissions. So if they can't tell what's wrong or they can't read what's wrong, they don't know how to put it back together. So it's kind of the way that the operating systems are designed now with 10 and 11 is wholeheartedly different than XP. And that is going to be the big differentiator right there. And 11, and now trust me, ask these people here. I was nervous about going to 11 because I just gotten used to 10. And because XP and 7 were just all over the place. There is always going to be a learning curve. But moving forward is the better answer, in my opinion, and just from a project management standpoint. If that makes any sense.
Bring back Vista.
Eat
Vista.
A bag of...
What about ME, baby?
What's the operating system?
On Vista.
What's the operating? It's
like
Vista. We're going to die, Roy.
Oh my God. It's like asking if you want to bring back Windows 8. No.
You know touch screen, baby.
One letter more than 8? Hate. I hate 8. Oh. I hated 8. 8 was terrible. 8 ended up in a boot loop with so many different PCs I couldn't even see straight.
It's because you didn't have a touch screen.
Yeah, everything was designed for... Why aren't we using touchscreen everything yet? Who would have thought?
The future is now.
I'm just like, no.
I'm still on 10, but it's funny because like I'll get home to my PC after like testing a whole bunch here because everything's on 11 now. I get on, I'm like, what is? Oh man, I'm on the old OS on 10.
You're gonna convert when you convert.
Yeah, 11's close enough to 10 for me. I don't really see a difference other than the windows are more curved and stuff like that. I'm sure 11's better, but
I'm actually significantly impressed. So I game on my gaming PC, the one that's sitting behind me, is Windows 11. Obviously, it's Windows 11 Pro. The streaming PC is Windows 10 Pro, and there is some significant difference between the two. But I'll tell you what, from a functionality standpoint, I'm very impressed with 11 once I figured out where they had moved certain things, and if you ask George, who is our director of marketing, it took every amount of effort that he could put into it to convince me to just go with Windows 11 because I'm a crotchety old man. I don't want to move. I don't want to go to new things. Get off my lawn. And instead, I found that I loved it.
You know what drives me nuts the most about 11? So we use Device Manager to like make sure like if there's any drivers that are out of date, it can do that. So on Windows 10, I just Windows key DEV and just enter, and it pulls up Device Manager. But in 11, it pulls up this AI assistant, like device assistant thing. So I got to type in 2 more letters, 2 more keystrokes.
Non-AI.
Slowing me down. That's my biggest complaint about 11. It's like the most minor thing ever, but it drives me nuts.
So I will say this about that, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm not a huge fan of AI, especially from a SAG-AFTRA standpoint. But if there's something they can create that's in the operating system so that it can take care of doing all that garbage in the background and I don't have to worry about it, great, cool, thanks. I don't want to have to keep checking because Windows 10 you had to keep checking.
Offline account.
I had to keep checking. Yeah.
So
what happened?
I won't be able to upgrade to Windows 11?
I don't know if you have to be online or not. I'm always online, so.
Well, I don't have internet at the house, so I can't have Windows 11.
No more computer for you.
Yeah! RC truck all the way.
Time to learn Linux.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's the correct response. That is totally, yes. Oh, that's a clip right there.
Yeah.
That's it, the natural response to Linux. Oh dear.
Yep. Kim Metro mentioned I wanted to order my PC with one, but CLX doesn't offer it, sadly. And then Temperance mentioned I got my PC direct from Intel and Robitech. That's the only reason I have one.
Ooh.
Golden has that opinion. They are not happy with Windows 11 that you cannot use an offline account now. Yes. Okay. And again, as I was mentioning, if they kept it and given a choice to users, correct. From a security standpoint, you can. You just need to connect it at some point, and then you can disconnect it. But
just wait till it becomes a subscription.
Oh dear. Coming. Oh no.
Oh, you shut your mouth.
I don't want it to happen, but
you shut up. You shut up.
Pay $10 a month
I don't want to hear your horror stories.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be $15 a month for the ad free, and then after that, it's going to be ads in the ad free.
I'll tell you what was the most frustrating thing ever. So I used to work at Adobe Software Systems, and I managed call center, and then helped write the technical support training protocols and training curriculum. When they went to a subscription service, I have never been more angry in all of my life. I was just like, what? Why? Yes. Tried pulling my cable out, and Windows 11 will not allow you to install without a Microsoft account.
New Assassin's Creed game? Heck yeah, it is the new Assassin's Creed game. Ha! Ha! Ha!
Yeah.
Let's hear. Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, it seems everyone has to play. Yes. And, dear God, I'll switch over to Linux if that happens. Or, I mean, you can. I don't know why you would,
but we need to do. If they go to subscription, we all go somewhere else. That's right.
This isn't the new Assassin's Creed game that everyone is streaming today? Oh, no. I have the new stream. I have got early access to it, thanks to Ubisoft. I'm excited to stream that today. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to do Repo and then that.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
It's like,
no.
I'm already paying for ad-free Prime, and I'm watching content that forces ads onto you. So I literally don't know why I'm paying $2 extra a month or however much.
All right. Speaking of $2 extra a month, let's talk about what's only the size of a $2 bill, and that
the power
is
supply.
Just the power supply.
The power supply.
It's that little bitty thing. No, the power supply. Now, this is really cool, and I want you to explain this. This is an Leon Lee 850 watt SFX modular 80 plus gold. There's so many different terms in there I want you to describe. We are talking about modular SFX and how it's that small with that many ports.
So this is
all take it away.
This is an SFX power supply. Small form factor is what that means. So it's fully modular, so there's no cables coming out of it. We got our cables right here. But I love how these things, they're so tiny. This is even an 850 watt. Look at that. 850. You can even get these in 1,000 watt if you really want. But yeah, other than that, it's regular power supply. Now we are using this because of this chassis. It is such a small chassis. It does require a small power supply. But yeah, these things are so cute.
So you're saying this is an SFX power supply?
SFX.
What is a normal power supply called, Paul?
I just call it an ATX power supply.
Oh man,
A practical
ATX. That's
effect.
the size of the motherboard, right?
Mm-hmm. Look at that. Look at those
Oh
form
man,
factors
we just
converging.
went full circle right there.
Can you believe it? Call back.
Wadu Hick says, hey, CLX, do you guys sponsor content creators? And I'll tell you what, in order to find out that information, what I want you to do is go to clxgaming.com. Go down to the very bottom and you'll find the affiliate application location. And you can go from there.
There's some extras.
Oh, sweet. Oh, the good ones.
Yeah.
Shiny ones.
Ooh, they got some nice cables.
Oh, the braids.
Yeah.
It's like some are braided, some aren't. Okay.
The industrial cables that
Copy
go
link.
into the system are, and the backdoor
There you go.
cables just rubber.
Hello, Hashim. Hello. Metro mentions that so with the PC I ordered, it came with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Civ 7. Support said the games can ship with the PC, and I have to contact support when I get it, and then they will send the codes based on the number of on the back of my PC. Why is it done this way?
All right.
That's an excellent question. No clue.
I actually have a good, I have the answer to that. I don't know if it's a good answer, Metro, but the way that the game code verification is now, back when I first started, Witcher 3 was the one promo, and we would actually get like cards with a code that you scratch off and you'd have the code, and we obviously give those with the system. You just put in the code and you're good to go. Well, now the verification for the game to even use the code on your system is a lot more stringent. So it's got to see the hardware installed in your system. Typically, you have to have the let's say it's a code you got for a video card. Typically, you have to have that video card installed in the system, and it's going to detect that. So they're just a lot tighter on those codes and how they get used, so you can't just like randomly hand them out to everybody. So that's why it's like that.
Which makes
the gaming industry. It's such a good industry to work in.
Lots of checks and
1-8,
balances.
Zach.
Cosmos mentions
What is
counting down
this?
until we get FTTP
It's
here
like
so
a
I can stream. Well,
full-size
that would
cable.
be more.
This never happens.
Oh.
I need one more.
Wadu mentions over on the red side. Thanks so much for the information. Also, another funny question. Why I never win giveaways? Keep trying.
Single 6-pack.
Because there's a bajillion people who are all entering at the same time. Let's see. Hashim asks, how's it going for the three of y'all? Hope you guys and your families are healthy and doing well.
Thanks, Hashim.
Yes, thank you for asking.
Hope you're doing
we're
well, too.
Hanging in there.
What's
Yes.
the difference between 80 plus?
So, yeah. Jimmy asks, what's the difference between 80 plus gold, platinum, or titanium?
That is a good question. I'm glad someone asked. Usually I just explain it, but nobody asked.
Platinum and
So,
titanium.
That is the efficiency rating of the power supply. So it doesn't have anything to do with like the wattage or anything like that. It's how efficient it's going to use the power that's coming out of your wall and what's going into your system. So that rating is, we always recommend going with at least 80 plus. There's just 80 plus, which is a white label, and then you've got bronze, silver, gold, platinum, titanium. So as you go up the power supply, to get that 80 plus rating, the power supply has to be 80% efficient at 3 different loads. And I believe that they are at 10 or 20%, 50%, and 100%. You can check me on that. And then as you go up, so 80 plus base is going to be 80% efficient as that. And then as you go up, they get more and more efficient. So it's how much power your system's using, how much of an impact is it going to have on your electrical bill. that you get every
Ooh.
month. Now, PCs, even if you have a very, like just an 80 plus, you're not going to notice. I mean, you might notice a buck or two if you're just gaming on it between like an 80 plus if you're comparing it to like a platinum or titanium. But where this really matters is if you're doing any crypto mining where you're using a lot of power. That's why you see all the big crypto mining rigs. They want to have an 80 plus platinum or titanium power supply because the money that they're using to power the PCs, is directly related to how much they're getting. So, long story short, gaming PC, go with 80 plus anything.
There we go. Oh my goodness. Oh, Wadu says, now I feel like I should create 1,000 alt accounts, sub and follow all CLX accounts, and enter next giveaway so I have a plus 1,000 chances of winning. I mean, that is a lot of effort. At the same time, also,
You don't walk into a police station and say, and admit to a crime, do you? Come on.
I was trying to figure out what to say. Like, well, good God. Sky High J says, just bought a CLX Horus gaming PC. Congratulations. We're super excited.
Thank you.
Hashim does. I think it's great. And Hashim also mentions 80 plus titanium to 80 plus platinum. The efficiency gain is very minimal. Sky High asks, 4070. Is that a good first gaming PC?
Yeah,
I think so.
4070 is a way better start than most people get on their first gaming PC. I will say that.
Conrad 74 over on the kick side. What's up, dude? Says stop helping them with ideas. Yes, agreed. Welcome. Stroud, what's up, my dude? Good to see you. Good to see you indeed. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing awesome. I'll tell you what else is doing awesome. It is our graphics card, which is going to be incredible. Oh, and you got the plastic. You got the plastic peel off.
I got bad son.
There we go. So for our GPU, we're going to be using an AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT. It is a 16 gig card. Paul, talk about it. Let's walk us through. Because it's a 2-fan. Let's talk about weight and height and depth.
Yeah, so right out the box, I like this card. It's not super heavy or anything. It is a 2-slotter. I don't think you would need an anti-sag bracket to support this. We probably, if we have one, we'll use one in the case, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say that it's necessary at all. Yeah, 2-fan model, 2 8-pins that power it. I like that. Just really solid card. 1 HDMI and 3 DisplayPort, as to be expected. I'll get the rest of this plastic off the shroud.
And also, do make sure that if you're doing this on your own, you're assembling on your own, make sure that you've verified that all the plastic is off. What happens if you don't remove all the plastic from a device like this that can get very hot?
It's not going to cause the plastic to like melt and drip off in your PC, but it will get hot and it will cause that plastic to really stick to the video card and be insanely hard to get off after, and just might make it look really bad. Also, the plastic can kind of act like a blanket and keep heat in, so it's not going to run as good, and you wouldn't want any of that to get caught in any of these fans.
Noah Burton over on the red side says, got a CLX Horus just a little over a week ago, and I'm really enjoying it so far. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Don't forget, if you are in our Discord, discord.gg/CLX Gaming, we have a whole section dedicated to photos. Like if you want to take a picture of it in its natural habitat where you finally set it all up, please feel free to share. We love to see what people do with the PCs. It's awesome. Sky High says, I have a question. All in all gaming PC with LED, can you change the color or is it one color?
You could change the colors. I mean, it depends on what you pick. If you pick just a single color, obviously it's going to be that single color. But if you pick any RGB, you can change the colors to whatever you want.
King Metro asks, says also, with my old PC, is it best to throw it away or part it out to sell? Has an EVGA 80 gold 850 watt PSU, Ryzen 3, forget the model. It's an SFX 580 special edition black and 128 gigs of DDR4 RAM. Good lord. It's not great. I barely played Baldur's Gate 3, Helldivers 2, and Cyberpunk 2077. They all ran at like 30 FPS on the lowest settings. Ouch.
Yeah, I would say you could recycle that power supply for sure. I've been using the same power supply for many, many years. 800 and the EVGA power supplies are solid, and it's 850 watts, so that can power any modern stuff. The other parts are getting kind of old. That DDR4 RAM, if you're sticking with a DDR4 system, then definitely use that memory. You don't need to buy any memory. But the other stuff, yeah, I just throw up on Marketplace and sell for super cheap just to get some money out of it. Or if you've already bought a whole new PC, just sell the whole PC as one thing on Marketplace for cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't feel super good getting rid of all your stuff for cheap, but at least someone will come buy it, and then that's some money you can put towards the new one.
Well, let's see here. Skyhook mentions, I love y'all's PC designs. I'm going to be honest. They've got some incredible designs across a multitude of... A huge shout out and thank you to Kyle for doing that. He is one of our designers and fantastic at what he does. Now, there's different ways that you can decorate a PC if you're ordering it from us. How does that work, Paul?
Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of options for customization on your PC. Now, we've got a lot of different print designs and paint designs. You can look on our website, look at our cases, and scroll through all those. But if you've got some custom artwork or your own logo or your own design you want to put on there, reach out to us. We can most likely do it. We'll figure out which case that you want to go with, and we can typically get that designed around the case so that you can have a totally custom PC.
Nice. All right, we're getting these two fans on the back. So we've got our 3 up top, our 2 fans in the back. We're going to have 3 on the bottom and 1 in the reverse. So that's going to be a total of 5 fans pushing air in and 4 fans pushing air out. So how does that help keep the system cool? And more importantly, how does that keep it clean?
Yeah, so with 5 coming in and 4 going out, we've got more air coming in, which gives us a positive pressure environment inside of this chassis. So that means all the air that's coming in is going to come through the proper filtration that this case has been designed to have. If we had it set up in the opposite way, where more exhaust versus more intake, we would have a vacuum inside of our PC, which would cause air to get sucked in through all little cracks and crevices and not go through the filters. So we want to avoid that as much as we can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, as you can see from the top here, we've obviously got this vent that's going and pushing the air out up the top. And down on the bottom, we're actually also going to have a filtration system. How does that work?
So it's just a magnetic filter that gets slapped right on here. I think Zach's going to grab... Oh, yeah. It's just this bottom tray one isn't magnetic. It's just a tray that slides in. Pretty easy peasy, if we can line it up right. And you just slide it out, clean it off, you're good to go. And then all around the case, there's other magnetic filters too.
Speaking of which, I haven't looked at mine lately. That's pretty darn clear.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Now, granted, I also taken some extra steps in the sense that I have an air filtration system down here just for the studio because it helps keep the DJ equipment clean and everything else. But yes. Stroud, sorry, I didn't realize that capitalizing your name would make it go haywire. Let's see here real quick. King Metro asks. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go back up to aged Bat Dad. Hey, what's going on? How have you been? Good to see you. Aged Bat Dad says, hey, friends, love my CLX machine, even though it is like 4 years old. That is great to hear. Again, our machines last for a long time. King Metro says, also, didn't CLX do laptops a while back? I have a friend looking for a custom PC, but only has the space for a laptop, but doesn't like the market of preset laptops. I told him to check CLX, and he said they didn't do laptops. Maybe I'm having a bit of a fever dream with that one. Well, Zach is our laptop guy.
Yes, our laptops right now are currently offline, but as soon as we get the brand new 50 editions in, we will have them up on our site and out the doors.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Yite Lagami says, talking about power supplies, my new PC is going to have an 850 watt Thermaltake Tough Power GT Snow, but my older PC got a Corsair HX1000. Can or should I even switch the power supply? The PC will run a 4070 Ti Super with an i9 14900 KF.
Okay, so the 850 watt Thermaltake and the 1000 watt Corsair are both going to supply enough power for those components, so you don't need to worry about it. Now, if it was me in your shoes, I would put the 1000 watt in just because it's bigger and Having the more headroom is nice if you ever want to add some stuff later or next time you upgrade your PC, but either one of those is going to be fine. You're not going to notice like a performance increase from going to the 1000 watt from the 850 or anything like that. So you're not hurting yourself performance wise by having the 850. I just personally would go with the higher wattage one just because it's got more headroom in it.
Let's see here. Cosmos mentions, have you seen anything about the life-sized Viper replica? That would be awesome for a sim rig. Viper replica, like as in it is we're talking Battlestar Galactica, or are we talking G.I. Joe's Cobra, or a Dodge? Also, could be a Dodge. But for a sim rig, I would definitely want a I would definitely just want a Viper, just like Battlestar Galactica. Just in my opinion. And why do you just got to scroll down in it? That link just completely works. All good. Back over to the chat. Hello.
That's a good question.
BSG Mark II Viper. Yes. Joey Wheels mentions, when creating a positive pressure environment for the cooling, are the RPMs for all intake fans the same, or is it different for the AIO?
So the ones that we set up, they're all the same. Now you can make your AIO fans spin a little differently if you want to, but I prefer to just keep all my fans going pretty much the same. It's not something that you really have to take into consideration. Now, obviously, if your exhausts are running at 10,000 RPMs and your intakes are running at 2, then yeah, you might start thinking of it. But I don't think you're going to have a big enough difference in RPM between your fans for it to actually make a difference.
And there's a video on YouTube about it? Yes. Oh my God. All right. So, wait, you're telling me it is the BSG Mark II Viper? Okay, Brius, hang on. Hang on.
DJ's getting into Star Citizen.
Oh. I listen, if I could have a Mark II Viper parked in the backyard, fully decked out, I would be in that thing forever. Mark II Viper. What was it called?
BSG.
No, it was the Mark II Viper, and it was the gaming rig. Well, we'll see what happens if I can find it.
Jimmy O, it's going to depend on your specs, but I'd probably go with the 850 watt. If you just got a regular gaming PC, it's just going to be a little bit more efficient than 1350 watt. But we're really splitting hairs there. Both of those power supplies are fine to use for your gaming rig. You're not doing anything wrong by using one over the other.
Just be sure that, like, if one is already installed, you keep the cables with the power supply, so you're not cross-contaminating your Corsair cables with your Thermaltake power supply or your vice versa.
There we go. Capture cards. Oh. Did you already answer this? The best capture card? With
No,
4
I
HDMI
haven't yet.
inputs? Okay. So, Hashim asks, what's the best capture card with 4 HDMI inputs, the most value for money, price to performance, etc., etc.? Okay, so Paul, you can answer this. I'm also going to answer this, but go for it.
So I'm not super familiar with capture cards as far as how many inputs they have. I believe the Elgato 4K60 Pro is a really solid one, but I don't know if it's got 4 HDMI inputs or not.
It does not. It's a single in and out.
Okay.
So, and I think when it comes to the conventional internal cards, the one that has the most ports is actually an AverMedia card. It's called the AverMedia Duo. It's got 2 inputs, 1 pass-through, so you can actually plug in an HDMI camera, right, like a DSLR, and then also have your PC or gaming or console running through the pass-through. Now, if you want 4 inputs, you're going to have to go with something a little bit larger and more robust, and that is called an ATEM. So I have a ATEM Mini from Blackmagic somewhere here. I'm pretty sure I could find it if I just got up and did it. But it has its input, and then you can control what is sent through on each of those channels. But that's going to have to be plugged into an actual capture card. Oh, my custom PC I ordered, I picked the O11D Evo case because it looks cool, but starting to think it's a bit big for my desk. I might have to use the wood crate as a shelf. How bug is that case? This case is legit. I use it. That's what it came in. It will sit on here forever. It is made of wood, so it's not gonna. You don't have to worry about any type of static, electric, anythings with it. It's also really cool to just kind of have as a prop in the room. I love it personally. I absolutely love it. I don't know why I said Angel Bat Dad. Age Bat Dad says, I need a higher power PSU. My PC does live. Yes. You need, if you're that's at once, you're going to need two different pieces of equipment. You're going to need your capture card, and then you're going to need your ATEM. And the ATEM is what's basically going to be the junction box that you have all your 4 leads pushed into, and then you can choose based on the controls which one you're going to be pushing through to the input of the capture card collectively. And I would ask Jason also if he has any ideas on that one, because Jason is he's our head production. He's and the director.
An ATEM right
and
now.
he's got a full-sized ATEM, but and I would definitely say he is also a source of information. So, Cosmos says close out the stream and good lord. But yeah, Hashim, you can also hit me up in on my Discord as well. But again, I think Jason's probably going to have the most advanced knowledge when it comes to that. I'm just saying what I would do based on what I've got in my stepping things. All right. Now, you're very welcome. Let's see. So now we've got all of this put together. All of our fans. Now, just from the sheer size of this, I'm really glad we've got this size card for it, because this is fantastic. Now, for the card, obviously, we mentioned this before. It's an AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT. It's 2 fans, which means it's going to fit, and this is a very tight fit. How close is this going to run?
Well, we got all the room.
Oh, wow. So you might possibly be able to fit a triple fan in there, but
yeah, you definitely can.
Could you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So obviously we've got 2 8-pins. Yeah, 2 8-pins going in for the power of this. And we don't need, obviously, we don't need a anti-sag bracket. It's very close to the bottom. So what are some concerns about how to wire this once it's installed, given the amount of space that's going between the fans and that Radeon card?
Yeah, the biggest thing is we just don't want our power cables to get in those intake fans near the bottom. So that's what we're looking out for. Other than that, we've got enough space to run the cable to the grommets on the side under the 24 pin that you can see there and back to the power supply.
King Metro says, do you guys know about monitors? My PC will be capable of ray tracing in high FPS, so I want to get the most out of the gameplay. I currently have a cheap Odyssey G5 that is IPS. I can't afford an OLED, but would like the next best thing. Is there a recommended monitor? I don't understand the monitor language. TN, VA, IPS, OLED, QHD, QLED, UHD, FHD, and that is, I think, just some of them. Yeah. Don't know the difference between them, but everyone says OLED is life-changing, and I know I can't afford one. I don't think I have OLEDs at all.
Ports are there?
Yeah, I don't think I have a. And I know production just popped in. Jason, do you have any advice that you could throw at me about the multiple inputs for? So the question was, What kind of, how would one capture up to 4 different inputs? Look, they were looking for a capture card that has 4 different inputs on it. And I mentioned and recommended your capture card, either AverMedia Duo or a Elgato 4K, and then getting a Mini 8, like a Blackmagic Mini ATEM. That's the only way I could think of to get 4 different HDMI inputs through to one card. Because the cards don't come with, Blackmagic. Got it. Okay. PCI. Okay, there we go. I stand corrected. That is a thing. So see, this is why I asked Jason all the things, because he's smarter than I am. There is a Blackmagic. That's the name of the company, and they have a PCIe plug-in for HDMI input capture card. So check it out. It might be a little bit more spendy, but it's definitely going to work.
Which one?
Redberry.
What's Redberry?
Oh, got it.
I don't know.
So it's one of those things. I will say this, from all the Blackmagic gear that I do have, I would stand by their products 9 times out of 10 any day of the week. Any day of the week.
You're seated,
all right.
DJ.
What?
Well, you'd sit by them.
Yeah, you're seated.
You sit by them all the time.
Yeah.
Yes,
you said
I
you
do
stand by
Go
them,
ahead.
but you're seated. I'm so confused.
Damn it.
Got him.
Hopi, hello, welcome in. Glad to see you here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't even have OLEDs. I just have some. I think they're IPS, and that's it. But yeah, someday we'll get to it. Now take a look at this. As you can see, all those sides, and check out the way that one of the things I love about this case is the way that the drive bay and the power supply unit sit in their own section, so you have all that room for the cable management. That's really important. So yeah, check that out. That's a great job, Zach. All right, so while we're getting the panels put back on this fun little guy, I want to take you on another adventure. We're going to head over to CLXgaming.com to see how we get you a PC today. At CLX Gaming PC at CLXgaming.com. Good Lord, TJ. We try to make it as easy as possible. We carry pretty much everything. As you can see, we've got the ITX cases all the way up to our RAWs, which are full-size cases, and we have some even bigger ones than that, and it's huge. You can get them with liquid cooling, either open or closed loop. We carry all of the brands. Basically, CLX Gaming is a one-stop shopping center. If you want Intel, we got Intel. You want AMD, we got AMD. You want Radeon, we got Radeon. You want NVIDIA, we've got NVIDIA. We've got a little bit of everything, and as you're choosing your parts and pieces, you don't have to worry about screwing it up because we have a foolproof system. For example, see that little green button up there? We're going to make the little green button change to yellow. There we go. So if you happen to select something, for example, in this situation, what we have is a power supply that's going to draw more power than that's not going to have enough power for that graphics card. So to solve that, the system's going to pop up and say, hey, either you can choose one of these power supplies that will work with this graphics card, or you're going to have to choose one of these graphics cards that work with that power supply. Once you solve it, it goes back to green. You're good to go. You can't screw it up. We've got everything from extra hard drives to streaming gear. We've got an opportunity for you to actually upgrade and overclock your CPU, your GPU, or both. You can even upgrade your thermal paste, which is awesome. And then, of course, we've got multiple different areas of cooling options, and we have content creation devices. Let's head over to the accessories where I can show you. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, first page on there is where you can get cool things like this. Ooh, special. Windbreakers to t-shirts to hats, you name it, we've got it. And then every other accessory you can possibly think of. Keyboards, mice, controllers, headsets. We've got mics, including Beacon Mix Creates, which are awesome. And we've got the Beacon mic. And so, yeah, it's a whole little software suite of awesomeness. Speakers, monitors, we got it. You need a router? We got it. If you need a gaming chair, we've got it. We've got it's a one-stop shopping center for all of your needs. Now, I know that this definitely is like, oh my gosh, sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, and that's okay. That's what we've got, our little purple section called Ready to Ship. It's our RTS section, and this is a lot of fun. So RTS comes in 4 different flavors. We've got entry, mid-range, high performance, and ultra high performance. And it gives you a chance to kind of look through and see, all right, this is what's going into a PC of this magnitude or this price range-ish. If you want to adjust a little bit of it, you can adjust a little bit of it. But it's all right there to give you a great idea of what you're going to be getting for your money and how to best manage your purchase. So with that being said, for all of your future PC gaming needs or just PC needs in general, head on over to clxgaming.com and see how we can prepare you for tomorrow. There we go. That is such a little tyke.
Cute little guy.
Sorry, I had to take water. All right, are we ready to see what this is going to look like for our friend Michael in Texas?
Oh, yeah.
Ta-da! Oh my God, that looks awesome. I'm also loving the fact that you've got that really awesome pastel rainbow going on there, but it's also on the RGB cap for the AIO.
Yeah, it looks nice.
That looks gorgeous. Let's go ahead and go back through one more time what's inside this beautiful PC for Michael in Texas. This, of course, is a CLX Scarab 011 Mini in black with an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D that's cooled by a CLX Quench 360 AIO in black with an RGB cap. The motherboard is an Asus TUF Gaming B650M Plus Wi-Fi with 32 gigs of Patriot DDR5 4800 RAM and an AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT for the graphics card. It's got a 2 terabyte Patriot P300 NVMe M.2 for the storage and 9 different game DSA OLED M2 fans, and it's all being powered by that little bitty Leon Lee 850 watt SFX fully modular 80 plus gold power supply. Well done. All right. That is fantastic. Now, this show generally happens in 2 sections, so in just a few minutes, we're going to take a break. When we come back, you get to spend the afternoon with Zach as he dives deep into some more builds, and I know he's got some pretty fun things planned for today. So, with that being said, you can check out all the latest and greatest of things that is going on with CLX Gaming by following us on our socials. That's YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. It's all at CLX Gaming. You can find us on our Discord at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You get to interact with a whole bunch of like-minded PC enthusiasts, or as I like to call myself, a nerd. This show happens every Tuesday and Thursday. On Tuesdays, we start at 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 Eastern here on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. On Thursdays, we start at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern on TikTok. You don't want to miss it there. TikTok, you don't stop. There we go. So with that being said, on behalf of Jason and Kyle in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Stick around. We got more coming up after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Bye-bye.